Milwaukee police used tear gas.
They say that children often set them on fire just to watch them burn. So the men and women who serve in the city's busiest firehouse think kids need to know more about the danger. And they think the city has to work faster to fix up the properties. Mark Segrist continues his series tonight called Under Fire at Engine Company 13.
It's a typical scene in Engine Company 13's neighborhood. Firefighters are working quickly to put out a fire in a vacant garage that was probably set by kids.
Garage, arson, trash fires, dumpster fires, vacant home fires. You never know what you're going to get.
Once the rubbish fire was out here in the garage, the job wasn't done. Firefighters decided to take a walk through this abandoned house that went with the property as well. Lieutenant Mike Murphy told me there was a good chance the kids might even try to set the house on fire. So he wanted to learn the layout of the place in case he was called back in the middle of the night. The fire department doesn't keep any record of the number of times it's called to arson fires in abandoned houses like this one. But the firefighters in Engine Company 13 will tell you it happens often, and it's one of their biggest worries.
You just hate to see the neighborhoods run down like that. You know. But we have enough fires in the vacants, that's for sure.
Firefighters aren't the only ones who worry about vacant houses. Inner City Alderman Michael McGee worries about them too.
It really seems like it's not getting any better, so what I do...
The firefighters consider McGee a friend because he's constantly trying to improve the housing in the neighborhood. When they're abandoned, he boards them up and secures them as best he can, but the threat of fire is still there.
It's really devastating to people. It's the threat that this could happen at any minute. I bet if you ask these people here now, I bet their biggest fear is that this house right here would catch on fire.
It's fires in houses like this one that help make Engine Company 13 the busiest firehouse in the city. It's not only the busiest fire district, it's one of the deadliest. In 1987, Engine Company 13 helped battle 2 fatal fires in as many weeks that killed 18 people. Many of those victims were children.
Kids really affect me when he's injured or dies, but you always have to, if you have someone at home to talk about it that knows what you're going through too, that really helps a lot.
When you try to keep the inner city from burning like these urban heroes, that becomes a way of life. It's never easy to accept. Just look in their faces. I'll have more on that tomorrow. Mark Segrist, Channel 12 News, Milwaukee.
As Mark said, tomorrow, what it's like for a young firefighter to cope with his first fatal fire.
Goes off. And when you're a rookie on the force, the first fatal fire is something you never forget.
Engine Company 13, the busiest firehouse in the city, has been the subject of a series of reports by Mark Segrist this week. And tonight, he looks at the emotional demands on the men and the women who serve there.
Med 5 to base requesting a frequency.
Med 5, switch to 5.
Med 5 to 5.
Engine Company 13 sees more death and human suffering than any other firehouse in the city. That's because the station's engine and Med 5 paramedic unit hit the inner city streets more than 7,000 times a year. When you respond to that many calls, you learn you don't always have to run to save lives, and you certainly don't want to panic. But every movement has to have a purpose, and it has to be in rhythm with the rest of the crew. You often have to rely on one another for emotional support as well.
Being a team, you support one another. And sometimes when you do have fatalities, you also have saves. So you look at what you've saved, too.
Gary Zimmerman is one of Milwaukee's newest firefighters. So when they needed someone to fill in for a shift at Engine Company 13, he jumped at the chance to see some more action. Little did he know that this was the night he'd have to come to grips with his first fatal fire here near 17th and Lloyd. Someone had set the fire at this group home for the disabled and mentally ill on purpose. Most of the residents were huddled outside trying to keep warm, but not everyone got out. So Gary Zimmerman and his colleagues were sent inside to search for others. That's when he found a blind man who didn't make it.
We found a victim under the window on the front hall.
On the second floor?
In the second floor bedroom, right under the front window.
apparently trying to get to the window.
Apparently, yes.
Zimmerman looked on as the paramedics from his station tried to save the man he helped pull from the fire. But despite the heroic efforts, he never regained consciousness. Back at the station house, Gary Zimmerman was matter-of-fact when talking about his first fatal fire. But the fact of the matter is, he went off to the kitchen to be alone. And that's where I found him, sitting by himself.
You hate to see a loss of life any time. We're always out there, just try to do our best. Sometimes best just isn't good enough, I guess. I'm sure probably every firefighter on the force has experienced it once or close to it. Something we have to live with in our profession, I guess.
Gary Zimmerman isn't the only one in this engine house who relives the fires. Others in the company admit they wonder what they could have done differently on a call too. It's just that in the busiest firehouse, you don't have the chance to dwell on the past very long.
I wouldn't say anyone's too hard on themselves or they wouldn't be doing a job. We've got another one.
At Engine Company 13 and other inner-city firehouses, there's always another call and maybe another encounter with death. But there's little time to think about it. You just go. Mark Segrist, Channel 12 News, Milwaukee.
Families homeless tonight.
But fortunately, no serious injuries thanks to quick action by rescue.